Nigeria has launched credit scheme for locally assembled vehicles and it targets 1 million beneficiaries by 2026. So I take that again, Nigeria launches credit scheme for locally assembled vehicles. Just in case you didn't hear very well when I said locally assembled vehicles, and the target is 1 million beneficiaries by 2026. We know how expensive it is for you to buy a car now in Nigeria, and sometimes people just can't afford the brand new. They go for what is popularly referred to as tokumbo, like the fairly used vehicles. But if we have vehicle manufacturing companies in Nigeria, it will be cheaper. But what we have in Nigeria are actually assembling plants, companies that assemble vehicles. Most of the components of the vehicles are imported, so they basically assemble. But what Nigeria is trying to do, the federal government is trying to do, is allocate credits or support these companies with credits so that they can make more vehicles or assemble more vehicles in Nigeria to reduce the cost. We have one of them, one company that has done quite well in the area of assembling vehicles. I would want to mention the name of the company, but we'll talk about companies assembling vehicles in Nigeria. We know the name that mostly comes to mind. So, but do you think that this is a far-reach project, something that would not really add value to the masses, given the cost of cars, the cost of vehicles, whether they're locally assembled or they're fairly used cars imported into the country? Is this something the average person would be happy about or elated to know that the government is wanting to invest in this?
Okay, for this, as long as this is concerned, I think it's a right step in the right direction. The reason why I said that is this: vehicle assembling plants in the country, I don't think we have as much as we should have, given our population and the need for industrialization and how we need that particular sector to grow and to provide its own quota of employment to the Nigerian market. If I should take your mind back to memory lane, there's some of these vehicles, trucks you see on the roads of Nigeria that have, some of them you see the only thing that's surviving in that truck is just the head of it.
What do you mean the head?
The head of the truck.
Okay.
The
like
body parts, yes, the body parts. You were just looking at them alone, you know they would have gone through some series of transformation in the unmerciful hands of Nigerian motor mechanics. Yes. So first of all, when they were imported into the country, they were in their full form. But when they started, their journey in Nigeria, either to convey goods from one part of the country to the other, they developed some challenge and some problems. They don't take these vehicles to the companies that brought them into the country, because sometimes those companies do not even have their own plants established in the country. And so the Nigerian mechanic, or what I call the roadside mechanic, had studied the process whereby they fix the engine, they find their way around it, they fix it, it goes bad, they remove the engine, they bring the carcass of the vehicle, they went and purchased another engine, they put it inside it, and it's working. And if you look at some of those vehicles, some of them, in the previous days, there's a local name, some of them were being called, like the Molue. I don't think those ones were really imported into the country. They were really, they've gone through a series of change. Now, it has provided a local market in the sense that you see this local mechanics have gone through the process of studying and understanding the structure and the make of that vehicle. They can reconstruct the wiring of the vehicle, of the trucking system, to bring back light into the vehicle, to make it work and to last long and to work on the Nigerian road. That's not the way they were imported into the country. So if we have local established plants that could assemble vehicles, and we could bring in some of these plants coming from the countries where these vehicles were really manufactured into Nigeria, then I could say we will start a market. However, we'll be starting more than what is called a market and an industry, because the longer we maintain that trajectory, we maintain that process, then we could get to a point whereby we'll start replicating the same technology that we have imported into the country. Because if you look at China, that's where it started from. It replicated some of the technologies that they were importing into their country, and today they've multiplied that technology in different ways, and they've started creating local technology and export into other countries. I'm sure that members of our House of Representatives that vote out money, 150 million naira, 100 million naira, to buy new sport utility vehicles for the new members that are coming into the House, probably will start, patronizing some of our local, not just the assembling plants. There is a company in Nigeria that manufactures and sells cars, whose name, if you mention it, it's almost now a global brand that people identify with the brand. Why can't we purchase from them to give to our 360 or 365 lawmakers, so that we don't take this money?
For government officials,
why are we taking this money out?
Indigenous firm.
Why must we take it out to some vehicle manufacturing company in Germany? Why do we have to take it out to the US? Why must we take it out to China to buy this manufactured product? And these monies are running to billions and hundreds of billions of naira. Why can't we retain it in the local economy for someone who is a manufacturing vehicle in the southeastern part of the country? Why can't we put that money to multiply that money in the local economy, so that this manufacturer can expand its tentacles by coming to build one of these in Lagos, build another in Kano, in the northern part of the country, and provide jobs for Nigerians? Why must we siphon this money outside?
Yeah, I think patronage would be better than offering credits, because sometimes these credits are loans, they are not grants, so they have to be repaid over time. While that will also be good, because not every company might be lucky to get the patronage if the government were to patronize them. Now, I agree that when it's time to buy vehicles for government officials, rather than buy imported, the locally, those who assemble vehicles locally in Nigeria, the government should patronize them. Yes, that's a good one. Because if we see government officials, public officers driving cars with brand names that we know are indigenous, it will encourage the average person to say the next time they need to buy a vehicle, they would go there. But if the government is not patronizing them, that's a message to say you don't even believe in these companies. You don't believe in their products. So you don't help market them. Because you could give grants, you could give credits to them to help them produce more. But who buys them? Who buys them? Marketing is one challenge that some of these companies have, because some persons are kind of skeptical about it, like, oh, this vehicle was assembled in Nigeria. Are we sure that it's going to be durable as much as those who are imported, those that have been imported? You talked about the Molware, if they were imported. Yes, I'm very sure that when those cars were imported into Nigeria, they came as brand new vehicles. But because some drivers or some owners would not want to retire the vehicles, so some of them have even lasted beyond one generation. They moved on and they kept, refurbishing the vehicles until they can no longer be refurbished. If you see the Danfo buses, then you understand what I'm talking about. If you've seen the Danfo buses in Lagos, you understand what I'm talking about, that some of them can no longer be refurbished. Maybe they can, but the current owners don't want to spend money refurbishing them. Ones. They're just comfortable knowing that the vehicles have engines that move them from one place to another. Back to my point. So, government can do a lot in terms of marketing. Now, if you are a major customer, a major off-taker of these vehicles, then some companies too could say, we need operational vehicles. Why don't we contract it to these firms to assemble, customize based on what we need, or the ones that they've made? So if government is the first marketer of these companies by patronizing them, you would have more companies patronize them. And so when they are making more sales, it empowers them to do more. It empowers them to expand the capacity at which they are producing. They are becoming household names. Other Nigerians who want to buy cars will patronize them. That way, the automobile industry in Nigeria is growing, and we would have less of importation of those vehicles. Because you know how much brand new vehicles come in Nigeria, how much they are sold. You have cars selling as high as 400 million, above that, you understand. And clearance is also part of what makes the cost of those vehicles high. Because some come in not as high as that, but by the time they go through customs, paying all the duties, the clearance and all, it becomes very expensive. And that's why some fairly used cars are smuggled. Some would rather go to neighboring countries like Benin Republic to buy those vehicles, clear them, and just drive them to Nigeria, because it's much cheaper to do that from the neighboring country than to do that in Nigeria. So strengthening the automobile industry is a good one, but I think beyond credit, there has to be patronage. Government buys lots of vehicles, so if government is a major customer to these companies, you would have other companies wanting to patronize this assembling plant, and they need to spread, so they will be empowered more to do more.
Okay, in the 1950s, that was when the Peugeot 404 pickups, the Peugeot industry company came into Nigeria, and they started, with their manufacturing. I won't call it manufacturing, of course, assemblage, and they had their way in the market, because that was quite a while. Then the industry grew when it got to 1970, where we'll begin to see the need or the potential for our population, and the need for us to have vehicle manufacturing and assemblage plants across the country. It became a brand, and even the government officials, even the government officials then were the ones driving the Peugeot cars. In fact, if you are in government or you are in the civil service and you are driving any one of those cars at that point in time, it must be that you are in the higher echelon of government and the administration. Some of the heads of state used that at that particular point in time. In 2014, the government passed, a policy for the automobile industry was released, indicating the licensed automobile dealership in Nigeria should engage in local car manufacture and assembly in order to make cars more affordable and accessible for Nigerians to buy. But one will begin to ask if that policy, though it's still there and it's still effective, but how many businessmen can the Nigerian businessmen, or those who have the capacity to come together to establish a car manufacturing or an assembling plant there, because it will thrive in the Nigerian market? Would they want to see that? Do Nigerians even have taste for locally assembled or locally made cars? Given that we know that our people, or it is public knowledge that foreign product most times is more preferred or more seen to be of premium quality than those that were even locally made, even to an extent, if I may divert for a little moment. Those who make shoes in Nigeria, even from the southeastern part of the country, after making their shoes, they don't put made in Nigeria in it. They put made in Italy, or made in China, made in the US, because they've come to understand that, these are people like foreign made goods, and if it doesn't have a foreign made tag on it, they will desist from getting it, and through that they were able to sell it. Sometimes it's shipped out of the country and shipped back into the country, yes, for it to make its way into the market. So those who have the wherewithal and the financial muscle to go and establish car assembling plants, or to come together to put on a market like that, they will have a tough time selling it to Nigerians. And there should bring creativity into this. That, look, we understand our roads, That's why I keep on referring to that car manufacturer in the southeastern part of the country. You understand your road. The car must be rugged in Nigerian road. You know that, okay, if we're having problem or some challenge with infrastructure in the country, and the roads that that we have here are not, some of them are not good for our cars, to really stand the test of time. Then you can do cars or manufacture cars that are not, sport vehicles, where the bottom of the car will be scratching the floor, and if the roads are not good, that car will not last long on the road. So we should be making jeeps here in Nigeria, so that it is quite high up there. And of course, if some of these roads, some persons say that during the rainy season, you see that the state of the Nigerian roads will be betrayed. You know that some of our roads are not it at all. That means when it rains, they're going to have ponds of water standing in different parts of the road. So you put that into mind and make cars, that could, pass those places.
Why do you think Jeeps, those kind of cars sell more in Nigeria? Because the average car owner in Nigeria thinks about the durability and the nature of the roads. It could be flooded, it could be in a deplorable condition. Now, maybe the one around your area where you live in could be good, but what if you have to move to other parts of the city or other parts of the country? You have to travel. So many of them want to go for those kind of cars that really can are not very low, kind of high, so that they can wade through water without having issues. Those are part of the reason. But I get the point. Now, we've seen cases where young people come up with innovations. You've seen stories of, we've heard stories and even seen works of individuals who creatively done something, maybe a little automobile, some experimenting with helicopter and all. I think that these automobile companies should reach out to people like that, who've developed on their own, developed some automobiles out of their own innovation and tested that it could work. But perhaps due to limited research or limited resources, they couldn't develop the project beyond that. So if they can have more of such people on their team, I think they will easily move away from just assembling to manufacturing every component of the car, and they'll be able to do that to make it, to customize it based on Nigerian roads, based on what will be durable for the average car owner here. So I think some partnership is needed here between the institutions. We have engineering faculties across universities in Nigeria. Even in polytechnics, we have them. So there should be this synergy between the town and the gown. We should also have industries connect with the engineers from these institutions. People who are on their own, developing, creating, innovating automobile products by themselves that are not able to expand beyond what they can do. They just post on social media, oh, this young boy or this young guy has been able to create this helicopter that could fly maybe for 10 minutes, fly for 5 minutes above the ground, or this car that moves without petrol, it moves. It's an electric car, things like that. I think such people should not just be applauded on social media. We should have companies connect with them because they have something that the companies would need. They are innovative, they are ingenious. So they will be very, very useful resources for the company. Okay. Let's move on to a matter of health.
Sorry, please, I just want to mention some of this local assembly plants that we have in Nigeria.
No, we can't do that.
These are established
No, we cannot do that. Let's move on, except if you want to bring in money for that, because I know that the marketing team will reach into your pockets and grab that money. Okay, moving on, but we do know that there are car assembly plants in Nigeria, so if you need the service of any, you could just reach out to them. You could find their addresses, you can find their location when you Google them online or ask. They are not secrets.